What's up guys, this is Sean and welcome to another episode of the iherng podcast, and today we will answer a question from email, but this guest request to be anonymous. So, hi Sean, I am not sure of your familiarity with property dynamics in Penang, but I will give it a shot anyway. I'm currently looking at a walk-up apartment unit situated in Green Lane, Penang. Green Lane is a quiet residential neighborhood which was developed 30 to 40 years ago, and its location is quite central on the island. Most of the residents in this area have been staying here since. The apartment unit that I'm looking at is 520,000, 1,000 square feet on level 1. Parking space is not a hassle. If I were to buy it, I plan to stay here for 15 years or so before selling it. I am considering this unit because it's very close to my parents' house where I currently live. Quiet neighborhood is convenient, plus the unit is well maintained. Now, let's get to what is holding me back. This apartment unit is 33 years old. It's a walk-up apartment which generally has low demand. I'm concerned that I will not be able to sell it in the future due to its age and also the low demand for walk-up apartments. These two things will also stagnate the value. Would like to hear your thoughts on buying old walk-up apartments and if they are as difficult to sell as I imagine. PS, I am not looking to buy new units from developers because they are too high density, too small for my likings and too far. Many thanks. Oh, sorry to mention that it is a freehold unit. So thank you very much, Mr. Audience. And I just came back from Penang as well. I've yet to recover from the flu, and this flu has been around for very long. I don't know why. For 2 weeks my voice is like that. Anyway, the question is rather direct. He is planning to buy a walk-up apartment that is around 520,000, 1,000 square feet. But the apartment unit is 33 years old. It has lower demand compared to those with lift. So is it a good buy? Personally, I resonate with this question a lot because my very first property is also a walk-up apartment. So let's just dissect this question a little bit first, right? Walk-up apartments, for those who don't understand, walk-up apartments is an apartment without the lift lah. So it's rather direct, it's just a walk-up apartment where you need to walk upstairs. And because you need to walk upstairs, there's a limitation to how many floors that you can build. At most, I see in Malaysia is around 5 stories. That's the maximum height that you can build an apartment without having a lift. While it's also practical and for fire security reasons, you cannot go further. And because of such typologies, it creates this very interesting dynamic of pricing. We are more familiar with properties with lift lobbies and lifts, right? The higher you go in terms of floor height, usually the premiums of pricing also higher. So the higher the unit in the building, the higher the price. But for walk-up apartments, it's different. The lower, the better. Means ground floor usually costs more than the first floor. Then always the cheapest is the 5th floor one. Because imagine you need to go upstairs and come back up. Whoa, it's like a workout on its own. Imagine after leg day you go up. Whoa. And because of its typology, again, it limits the target audience. Imagine for elderlies, it wouldn't be convenient at all. Climbing up 3 stories, right? Imagine 6 flights of stairs every single day just to go out and eat breakfast. Ooh. Then you need to go out lunch, dinner, hence it's not as practical. Then for families as well, imagine you having a toddler and your wife is pregnant, right? Again, it's not suitable. So, it limits its target audience by a lot. And as mentioned just now, it explains why ground floor units is worth the most. But in some typologies in Penang, it's a mixed development, which means that the ground floor units are usually kopitiam, your Dobi, your grocers, or some offices, and very weird in Penang sometimes. Then the residential unit starts from the 1st floor. So 1st floor then will be the highest demand. And there's something about 1st floor, which is 2 flights of stairs, that is acceptable to more people. Because it's just like a double-story house where you stay upstairs, man. Like the recent unit that I got in Eco Gardens is also a townhouse. I'm actually paying a premium to climb up the stairs. Because the dynamics between a ground floor unit and 1st floor also has its uniqueness. By that flight of stairs, it gives the user certain level of privacy and security, because if I want to come and rompak you, there's a flight of stairs in comparison to the ground floor, so it will be easier because the accessibility is higher and only residents of the 1st floor will go upstairs. Everyone in the same block will be using ground floor all the time. So it depends on what you really want. So that's the entire science of the product of its own. And these are usually built way earlier in time before lift was really a thing. And did you guys know that the invention of lift, right? change the entire skylines around the city, because after the invention of lift, then everyone starts building vertically. Then in terms of the buying price and the worry of not being able to sell the unit 15-20 years later, first of all, you clarify that it's a freehold, so I don't see any problem with the land title. And in Penang also, I don't think you need to be that concerned of, even if it's a leasehold, like the one in Queens Bay. We have studied it before, which is very interesting. But in Selangor, in KL, we have not seen yet, because the only building that everybody is waiting for, the lease is left with like 18 to 20 years time. So we are still waiting on what's going to happen. But coming back to the building, right, there's two things again to look at it. One will be the community. Who are the people staying there? Are the residents more of own stay people, or they are tenants that rent the place just to be closer to work or closer to office or whatever, right? So those will actually affect the maintenance of the building. And this part of maintenance heavily rely on the activeness of the community. If everybody is a resident there or own stay, right, they will actually care about the condition of the building. So there will be a team of people who is a bit more active in trying to make the building look good or clean all the time, rather than pure investors who just don't care, just want to rent it out and make a profit lah, right? So that's the first part. The second part will be to look at the secondary price, and this includes the latest transacted price as well as the rental. And when we look into your particular scenario, first floor I think is very good already compared to the higher floor, so I think it's in a premium. 520, then you gotta look into the latest asking price and what will be the median around your location. It means that if you look into 20 different walk-up apartments around that area, or even that 20, right, you look into high-rise with lifts, high-rise without lift, single-story house, double-story terrace house. But in Penang, a bit different because landed and high-rise got a huge gap one. Maybe you just study in apartments, right? Then 520, is it considered on the high side or a low side compared to the average price within Green Lane itself? Because when you do such homework, it also can be somewhat like a bullet to the owner. Hey, you know, Mr. Owner, next 2 street away, right, there's only selling 480 leh. Maybe we can meet in between, we don't go 520, we go 500, can or not? It means that you also got to do your homework. So that's the average pricing, the latest asking, right? So like 520, maybe the neighbor is 500 or the neighbor is 580. That makes a big difference as well. The third is to look at bank's valuation. How much is this building valued at? Because in the end of the day, if you were to buy, right, let's say, okay, we settled at 500, Mr. Owner said yes, but the bank approves 450,000 for the house only. Then end up you need to cough out way more capital than what for, right? Waste everyone's time. Might as well check the valuation first. Last of all would be the rental rates, because if let's say you buy 500,000, again this is in Penang, so in Penang the rental rate is not as healthy. Usually it's around 2.5 to 3% return only, not like what we have here in KL. But it's also a good gauge because the higher the rental rates are, the higher the demand for space, and that actually indicates the demand for the future as well. Why would people rent here 1,500 and rent there 1,200? Why would people pay the 300 just to stay here? There will be a reason why, right? So higher rental rates are always better for your project. And in the future, 15 years down the road, if you want to sell, will there be a demand because of whatever you just said, right? The building is too old, people do not like walk-up apartments. But come to think of it, you are the exact specimen of customers that you would want to have in 15 years time. People who are just sick of the density of the recent properties in Penang, mostly all affordable, going mass, right? All big masses in blocks and blocks. Out of 1,000 people, sure got like 5 to 10 people who prefers walk-up apartments one month. Just by walking out one floor, I can live in an area with way more comfort, less people. So I don't think demand will be a problem. But I think the real question you want to ask is, can you make money? If that is the question, then no one can actually make you a promise. I don't think anyone can guarantee you a profit, how much you will make in 15 years of staying in the apartment. But you can always look back into the transacted price of Penang walk-up apartments, for example. In our National Board of Statistics, right, you can actually find documents like this. Then maybe have history as a point of reference. Don't be too optimistic in like, oh, our whole 15 years and the property will double. I don't know, right? Because let's say in front of the project will be a new highway leh, maybe MRT really come across your unit leh. Who knows, right? That will change the entire dynamic of the location. But realistically, just take inflation as part of the progress. This is just to keep things really real. But the dynamics in Penang is very interesting because of the recent material price corrections. Previously it was a bit too high, and then all developers starts to slow down their launches. Some even don't want to launch, they just hold the land. It increases more across time. And then now there's a lot of FDIs focusing on Penang itself, because we are in this strategic location in between war zones or whatsoever. So the Malaysia now is a to-go-to location for manufacturing, and that's great for economy. So suddenly there's this surge of demand for space, which is actually good for everybody. But then you also see a lot of affordable housing popping out. But again, the target audience is very, very different. So to me, the answer is, if you want to sell in 15 years time, confirm can sell. The only question is how much you want to sell. If you want to sell at the price that you buy, confirm got no, but are you willing to do that? No, then what price you want to sell at? That's the real question that I think you're really asking. And I think that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for asking the question, and for those who still have any questions, do email me at taniherng@gmail.com, or you can just DM me on Instagram iherng, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.